G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Tristan White from the Physio Co, based in Melbourne, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Tristan.
No worries, Troy. Nice to be here.
You're actually based in Foster in Gippsland. We both grew up in country Victoria. It's a beautiful part of the world down there, but the bulk of your business, I guess, is centred around Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right. So I work from home in Gippsland, which is about 2 hours southeast of Melbourne. But yes, most of our team is in Melbourne and with other physios in Sydney and Adelaide. So 3 states of Australia.
Great. Well, let's start with how we know each other. So we had you on the cast. Michael Dennehy interviewed you on the cast not too long ago on one of our Quickfire Fridays. You were talking specifically around culture, and I love the chat that you and Mick had. And so I thought it'd be good to have you on to talk about the broader business questions of how you've grown the Physio Co. But yeah, you've known Mick for a few years now. Yeah,
certainly have. I've been in touch with Mick for a long while. I've been writing a blog alongside my business journey, a blog called Culture is Everything. And Mick has followed along and asked some questions, and we've gone back and forwards on a fair few topics over the years. So yeah, that's how we know each other.
We'll link through to that in the show notes because I think the audience would get a lot out of reading your blog. I've had a flick through it. It's great writing. Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Yeah, sure. So the Physio Co is the business that operates. I'm a physiotherapist by profession. The Physio Co exists to help seniors stay mobile, safe and happy. So we visit older people wherever they call home with the goal of helping them stay independent and ideally keep living at home for as long as they possibly can. So that's the purpose of what we're about. And how it makes money is that we bill either the individual client and or their family for the consultation we provide, and or there's a lot of government funding available via the home care package funding scheme, if that's the right word to use. And so, yeah, we hire physios, we train them, we support them. They go and visit older people in their homes. We bill for the services. That's how that's the financial engine.
Good timing, because I think I read recently the Australian government here is expanding the funding in this space because there's so much pressure in the aged care facilities that they're trying to keep elderly at home, which is where they want to be anyway, for much longer. So that's good timing on your part.
Yeah, absolutely, Troy. So the Physio Co has been around for a long while. We've been around since 2004, and we have had a long history of working in residential aged care facilities with older people. We've always had a focus on older people. We did focus on residential aged care, visiting people in nursing homes for a long while. But in the last few years, we've made a significant change to our business, and which is lined up with not only what older people want to be doing, but also where the funding's changed as well.
Yeah, great. So you started 2004. How old were you then?
I was 24.
24, great. And do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the almost 20 years now?
Yeah, I can. So we had our 19th birthday in February, Troy. And so I guess there's a few phases to those almost 20 years that we could probably put a bit of colour to. But it started out as just me. In 2004 was just me. I hired my first team member in 2005. And so it went from 0 to 1. And then over the next 11 years or so, right through to about 2012, we grew significantly. And the maximum number of team members we had was about 150 physios in delivering services to older people in mostly nursing homes in 6 states of Australia. And so that was at our peak in the mid 2012, 13, 14 type of time. And then after this significant change, adjusted through COVID, adjusted our strategy. And right now we've got about 30 people is the size of our team at the moment. And probably to put some dollars around that, if that's of interest to your audience, $0 of rev. It's early days, just me. And the max we got to was about $11 million per year of revenue. And there was a critical time in there, Troy, where when we decided to make a strategic change to our business, we actively didn't renew contracts with nursing homes. That we had created these long-term relationships with multiple sites around the country. And there was one of the most significant ones. One of the last ones we didn't renew was a 3-year, $2 million per year, so $6 million contract that we had been renewing for a number of years. And we actively said, thank you, but that's not for us. And that was a big moment in our business. And so from 0 to 11 was the peak, and back down with our small team and different focus, we're doing about $2 million a year at the moment.
Yeah, great. And so that was a deliberate decision by you and the team, I guess, to downsize, make the business a bit more manageable, simpler?
Yeah, it was about simplicity. It was also really driven by our purpose of helping seniors stay mobile, safe, and happy. That's what we're about, have been for a long time. And when we grew significantly and our major clients were nursing homes, we felt like we were doing work which was of use to the nursing homes for compliance and of use for them for funding. So they would get funding for their nursing homes. We didn't feel like we were doing our best work of helping seniors. And so there was a purpose problem. There was also a profit problem, Troy, and that is the commercials of working in residential aged care. Those B2B contracts were getting tighter and tighter and tighter, commoditized, if that's the word you want to use. And because of that, there was both a purpose problem and a profit problem. And we made some significant changes to resize and refocus on our client.
Yeah, interestingly, I had Jonathan Moody on episode 74 from Physio Inc. Before we record, I asked if you knew Jonathan, and you said you've heard of them. But they started a couple of years after you, 2006, and grew up to the time we recorded that cast, I think 270 people. But Jonathan, from memory, goes through just the tough times of managing that growth. I think he got to one point where he had literally $1 in the bank account and only just squeezed through payroll. But yeah, quite stressful times to grow that big.
Really difficult and similar from my perspective. But look, we could have continued to grow if it was only revenue we're looking for. There was a hell of a lot of growth that's involved, but revenue in my early days was important to me, Troy. I now figured out that there's a fair bit of ego involved with the revenue number that we talk about in our business.
Yes. And how did you fund the business?
Yeah, it's completely bootstrapped. So I started at some hand to mouth, really delivering services, collecting money, not paying myself, and continuing to grow. Within years 2 and 3, I think it was a little bit of help from my mum and dad to help me to invest, to cover the cost of investing in some new team members, but mostly bootstrapped.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Yeah, now there's an interesting question, Troy. When I had succeeded, I don't know if I succeeded yet is a reasonable question to ask, but I reckon along the way, the Physio Co has really obsessed over building this strong culture, and we have won some awards along the way. 11 times we were ranked as one of Australia's 50 best places to work. And in 2014, we reached number 1 on the list of Australia's best places to work under 100 team members. And that was probably a moment of validation from outside, felt pretty good. And secondly, in 2015, I did sell a part of the Physio Co. I went through a transaction to a publicly listed business partner. And that time when someone else decided that they would part with their own money to invest in a business that I'd started from scratch, that felt like a pretty significant moment as well.
And out of interest, so you still have investors in the business, or that's changed?
No, I bought it back. Brought it back, Troy. Yeah. So there's a story in itself. But 2015, I sold a 50% stake to Australia's largest retirement village operator, publicly listed the Aveo Group, AVEO, a really strong strategy to grow our services into their retirement villages. And I was in business with the Aveo Group for about 5.5 years. But mid-2020, first year of the pandemic, our paths had sort of diverged, I suppose. And we decided to part company, and I bought back the shares. And now I'm the sole owner again with my wife. Of course, I should never undersell the support of my wife and my family in this.
What does success look like to you?
I think it's really important that I'm doing something purposeful that's of service to other people. Progress is the second P word, if you will. I think it's really important that I'm progressing myself and others, helping support others to make progress in their life. And lastly, profit. Not the driver of business, but cash is the oxygen of our businesses, Troy. And if we're not making a profit, then we won't be in business for much longer. So I reckon success looks like a combination of purpose, progress, and profit.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
You got to own it, Troy. And what I mean by owning it, you got to be an ambassador. You got to talk the talk. Dare I say, you got to come on podcasts, talk about your business. I think we need to take the opportunity to be front and center, to talk about our service-based businesses, to be at the right place at the right time, both internally and externally. And so that means being at your own company events. It means representing people at client events and the like, being there with your team for significant events. And I encourage the owner and all the CEO, senior leaders being ambassadors, and encouraging others, team members, to be ambassadors is the first thing. And then secondly, those awards that we won along the way were pretty significant to market our business, especially a service-based business that relies on more clients and more team members growing. Awards were pretty significant, and the people-based or the culture-based ones are the best places to work was pretty powerful for us.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yeah, I would. A few reasons. One, I know it. Two, I love it. And thirdly, helping healthcare as a growing industry as a broader sense, and more specifically seniors healthcare. There's plenty of runway left in the industry is my view.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yeah, I can try. Check with my wife on this before we go on air. She's ridden the ups and downs with me. Look, the answer is the 2015 and 2016 is the years that I'd suggest. And the reason is that it was January 2015 was when I did the deal to sell part of our business to a publicly listed business partner. At that time, I was traveling a hell of a lot. We had physios in 6 states of Australia. I was traveling around a hell of a lot. We had 3 little kids under 5 or 6 years of age. And I spent a lot of time investing. I'm a worrier, Troy. I worry more than I probably definitely need to. And I was worried about impressing and building a relationship with my business partners as opposed to staying connected to my team and my clients. I really made a mess of that time in my life. There was nothing irretrievable, but I really stressed a hell of a lot about my business partners and the profit and the progress of our business, as opposed to really connecting with our clients and team and prioritizing my family was probably one of the most stressful times for me.
Well, yeah, thanks for your honesty. A lot of business owners, I think, struggle with that, the balance and being present and connecting with their family, particularly the kids. Yeah. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Yeah, so this is a relatively recent thing, Troy. I've been in business for 20 odd years, but it was after that time I just mentioned there, 2015 and 2016, must have been about 2017 or 2018. I really had spent a hell of a lot of time building a business, a service-based business, 100 plus team members. We'd grown significantly, lots of awards and all that sort of stuff. But I believe that all of us humans, especially leaders, have got a real continuum. When we communicate with other people, there's a continuum with 100% empathy at one end. And at the other end is 100% accountability of keeping people to account. And I reckon that learning how to be more assertive and hold people to account, also connecting with them and still being a good person, is one of the biggest skills. So learning that there is a whole other half, if you will, if I turn my head to one side away from empathy towards accountability, there's a hell of a lot more accountability I can hold to people, and using assertive language to make that happen is probably the biggest skill. That's amazingly painful for me, Troy, but really, really useful as well.
Yeah, I love that Brene Brown saying that I think sums up similar what you're saying there is clear is kind.
Yeah, 100%. Clear is kind, but clear to me is not important. It's clear to you, Troy. Yep. That's where the real difference. We've got to get that bit right.
As Peter Drucker said, communication is what the listener does.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it was Peter Drucker who we can, the quote, communication is leadership. Leadership is communication is critical as well.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I reckon it's decisions I've made to not prioritize myself, not prioritize my own health, both physical health and mental health. I think that's probably the top of the list. And related to that is the close relationships with my family and friends, that I've prioritized fast growth as opposed to taking care of myself and being connected with team members. That's probably the best answer I got for you there, Troy.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I love the possibilities. I love that opportunity to challenge myself, to go on a journey that no one's possibly ever been before, to tread a path that could be purposeful to other people and challenge myself and challenge us. I just love the possibility that there is with entrepreneurship. It might be a bit of a platitude, but I reckon we can make this journey our own, enjoy it, and be a bloody good person as we go.
What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
I need to be persistent, but I need to be patient in the way I be persistent. And so be patiently persistent is probably one of the biggest mindsets I've changed. I'm in a hurry in most things that I do, most service-based business owners, I think, and I've learned to hurry slowly. I think is probably the best answer there, Troy.
Have you heard of the rule of 4x2?
Nah, tell me about that.
When I was living in London, I heard a VC speak of this phrase that he made up, basically, because he obviously gets hit up for money, his money, a lot of the times by young entrepreneurs. And he tells them of the rule of 4x2. It's either going to take 4 times as long and cost twice as much, or take twice as long and cost 4 times as much. The difference is you get to choose which path. Yeah,
right. Okay. It's in your control.
Yeah.
That is very good advice. It's bloody hard for people early on in their journey to understand that and be able to accept it and live it, because we're in such a hurry most of the time.
Yep, that's it. I certainly was as well. I think I started when I was a couple of years older than you, 26.
Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? or you currently don't work, a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance, our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growasmallbusiness.com.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
This one might be a bit deeper than maybe it could be, Troy, but I reckon self-reflection is one of the most powerful things that we can do. What's working now may not work tomorrow, may not work next week, and we need to reflect on what's working, what's not working, and what we're going to do as people to adjust as our businesses. An adjustment to our business is firstly an adjustment to ourselves. So self-reflection is is what I reckon then.
Next two questions, perfect for you. I know the second one you've already covered a bit on the cast you've done with Mick around culture, but phenomenal that the awards you've won around people and culture, 11 times best place to work and the number one spot that size under 100 staff. That's just amazing. And can you talk how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes and advice for those listening?
We could talk for hours on this, Troy, but I reckon I've made all sorts of mistakes, hiring friends, hiring family, not keeping people to account, hoping for the best, but repeating the same mistake over and over again. People are creatures of habit. We're all creatures of habit. And if we don't make it very clear what the expectations are of a job right from the start, train people well, reward when they're doing what we want them to do, and remind them, I think chief reminding officer is one of the most powerful things that we can do as leaders, is to remind and remind and remind, as boring as it might be. And so some of the mistakes I've made is most of the mistakes I've made is hiring people who weren't well suited to a job in the first place. And secondly, not realizing that things had changed. When our business changed, I'd moved the goalposts as the leader and owner of the business. I'd moved the goalposts, and I need to be honest with the people that I work with and say, this is now where we're kicking, so to speak. Is this the game you want to play? And if it's not, then that's okay. We don't have to work together anymore, but we have to accept that side of things. And so there's changes in our business, which I think that I haven't necessarily managed as well as I could have. Similarly, we all evolve as people, and what was important to us in 2010 may not be as important to us in 2012 or 14 or 2023, Troy. So I think understanding that people change, what makes people a wonderful fit for your team when they first join may be the problem that actually slows them and slows you down many years on, or even just a few years on. And so look, people related is the answer, and not being clear enough with my expectations, not communicating clearly enough when things aren't meeting my expectations, and not being honest in the feedback that says, what are we going to do about this? Because it ain't much fun for me at the moment, and it probably isn't much fun to be you or that team member at the moment. It is a few lessons to learn along the way, I reckon, Troy.
Yeah, well, getting up to 150 team members, obviously you've recruited a lot of people over time. And again, being recognised 11 times as one of the best places to work in Australia. So you obviously got the recruitment right a lot of the time. Any tips, one or two things that you'd recommend that the audience try in recruitment? Because I think small business owners go short on this. They just don't invest the time to learn how to become great recruiters.
Yeah, look, you do. So firstly, chief coffee drinker is another important job. The CEO's got all the jobs, Troy. Chief reminding officer, chief coffee drinker, all that sort of stuff. But drink coffee and communicate and connect with as many people as you possibly can who are related to your industry. I think that's really important. So spreading the word and being a go-to person in industry, I think, is a really important recruiting tool. We've mentioned the awards already, but I also think that there's a part of my work that I've discovered. I didn't create this, but I've discovered it and I've really fine-tuned it. And that's the concept of a core purpose of a business. And some people might know it as a mission statement or thereabouts, but the tighter you can be on what I call the core purpose of your business, and I've said the Physio Co on a couple of times, the Physio Co exists to help seniors stay mobile, safe and happy. That specific core purpose is like a magnet to attract the right people who are interested in working with older people, and completely repel the wrong people who don't want to bar working with older people. It's just not for them. And so I reckon be very clear on what you're about and therefore who you want to attract, and then shout it from the rooftops for as many places as possible is probably the biggest thing that we can do to really invest in the attraction part of recruitment. There's many tactics. We can go deeper into selection and onboarding and training and reward and recognition. There's so much more to it, but the attraction part is where I reckon most small business owners are forever saying, I can't get enough applicants. Go deeper onto the attraction part by being specific as to what you're about.
Yep, great advice. And yeah, onboarding. Have you read Brad Giles' book, Onboarded?
Yeah, I have. I really like Brad Giles's work. He's excellent. I mentioned being an ambassador earlier on. That's one of the 5 roles of the CEO from his earlier book called Made to Thrive. And so Made to Thrive is Brad's first book, onboarded by Brad. Is excellent. It's so practical, really important stuff in there.
Yeah, it is. And one of the key messages there, again, we go short as owners and managers in our business. We think we're done once the offer's accepted, but then you've got that. I think he recommends 3 months minimum. It's just being more purposeful about getting someone on board, getting them a great experience starting up in that role. And obviously the other side of the coin is do a full assessment and make sure that they're an A player you want to keep.
Entirely. And that, Troy, I just want to jump on that term of A player because it's used a lot. And I want A players in my business. You want A players in your business. We all do. Really getting clear on what an A player looks like, sounds like, feels like, acts like. Every specific business is not a job that we do enough work on. And I think there's a real opportunity there for many of us.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, the next question, you covered a lot in episode 331 you did with Mick when you really honed in on culture. What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Yeah, so look, we covered plenty of that episode, but I reckon the 2, dare I say, quick tips, but they're big in themselves, Troy, is 1, make it a priority. Make culture a priority. Like there's plenty of people who have come to me as I support other small business owners to create a strong culture. And they come to me and they say, we want to get this culture piece right. And I correct them right there. I can't help you with the culture piece. If you're not going to make culture one of the most important things you've got in your service-based business, and culture helps to define and shape nearly everything you've got, then we're not aligned here. So make it a priority. First one, Troy. And secondly, follow a system, get a guide to understand what are the key parts to it. Again, Mick and I covered a fair bit of that in episode 331, but the culture is everything system to building a strong team culture is the one that I've documented. It's what we've used at the Physio Co. There are other versions. You can make it work for you. It's there's no right and wrong on this, but find yourself a system to follow. I think if we try and make it up from scratch, that's when we can fall down and stuff it up.
Yep. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Oh, don't know whether I'm qualified for this, Troy. Still trying to figure it out. So I'm married. I've got 4 kids. Our eldest is 12. Our youngest is 2. And so we've got a pretty busy family. And so I work from home. That's probably one of the things. I've worked from home for a long time, but I used to work from home Mondays and Fridays. And I was wherever I needed to be in Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Hobart, Cairns, where I need to be between Tuesday to Thursday. That was a huge drain on our family. I don't travel as much anymore. And even then, I was committed to dropping our kids off and picking them up on both Mondays and Fridays. And I still commit to that rhythm. So I'm a systems guy, Troy. And so that system of Mondays and Fridays works for me. It's a big one. Similarly, I work pretty hard to time my timeouts, if you will, from work around the school holidays. So we can do something together. And lastly, in pretty cold Foster, Gippsland right now, Troy, we do have, we've 5 cows who have all had a calf this year. So 5 cows and 5 calves. And we've got a few sheep. And just this morning, one of our sheep, Bruce ain't too well at the moment, Troy. So my wife and I have been out there tending to Bruce and giving him a drench and help him out. And so the farm's probably a hobby that helps to get me out of my home office a bit.
Oh, great. That sounds like a lot of fun. I grew up on a small hobby farm, 5 acres. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, good fun.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
Couldn't possibly put a number on it, Troy. I'll do my best. Thousands of hours, I think, is the answer. I've done courses and courses and courses. I've done an MBA. In the early days, I did an MBA. I've been a member of Entrepreneurs Organization, a global network for entrepreneurs. I've read behind me. If you're watching the video, behind me is a bookshelf with plenty of books that I've read. My Kindle is equally well stocked. I don't know the answer, but a hell of a lot.
I think the official term I use is a shit ton of professional.
Yeah. That'll do it.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Yeah, I have. I've had plenty of them, and so I've got a view on this, Troy, and I'll share it. But I've also got a contradiction to it as well. So there you go. That's the complexities of life. Most mentors, in my experience, have got a specific time in our life. They come into our life. They can be really helpful for a period of time when we're stuck on something. We're challenged with a startup problem or a growth problem or a marketing problem or the like. And often mentors can come and go. And I think it's important to find them. We're very specific as to what we need. So then we can ask the question and find the right person to help us out. So that's my view on mentors. Having said that, I've got a mentor who's been with me since 2004. And his name is Ben Hosking. He is a retired accountant. And how I found Ben was that in my local leader newspaper in Melbourne, way back in 2004, when I was just starting out, I saw a little business planning competition and entered this little competition to get support from a mentor to build a business plan. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I thought it'd be a good idea to get some help with a business plan. And it turned out it was a competition sponsored by a Shell motor company or fuel company and in partnership with the Rotary International. And so I was hooked up with Ben as my mentor, and Ben helped me through the business planning process and has been with me as a sounding board and a mentor and a supporter, not only on the business planning and accounting finance side of our business, but just on being the best person in business that I can be for a bloody long time. And so that's just an example of a mentor that has been with me for a long time.
That's phenomenal. 19 years Ben's been by your side there. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, Ben's been by my side, but I've got to know Ben and his family, and he's got 2 adult boys who are similar age in their 40s, just like me. Ben's wife, Chris, wonderful person who was unwell. And sadly, Chris passed away earlier this year. And I was at the funeral, and it's just a really great relationship with a mentor that's turned into much more than a business mentoring situation.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No, I don't at the moment. I've got a 5-person leadership team internally at the Physio Co. And then I've got a small number of external advisors. Never, ever come together as a board, but I do turn to them for individual advice and support at various times. And finance and accounting is one of those. Marketing is another one. Ben is an accounting side of things as well. I think it works for me to have my personal board of directors that don't necessarily come together.
All right, Tristan, one of our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
The never-endingness. There is no finish line. There is no quarter time or half time or anything like that. It just it goes on and on. So I think that's the never-endingness, I reckon, Troy.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
The 1 Minute Manager, which has now got an update called the New 1 Minute Manager.
Yeah, that's a great book. Really short book, but powerful. I think I read that like 20 years ago. Yeah,
it's been around for a long time. I'm pretty sure it's Ken Blanchard.
Blanchard, yeah, that's it. Any great podcasts, online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Yeah, one entrepreneurial mentor that I've been following and learning from for a long time is Vern Harnish. He's got his Scaling Up book and Scaling Up platform. I think that's a really great concept to follow.
Yeah, Rockefeller Habits. That was his first book, I think, in the late 90s. Great book as well. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business? I
know there's a podcast, Troy, but I'm going to hold it up. It's called My Full Focus Planner. It's
Michael Hyatt?
Michael Hyatt. You got it. I've been using the Michael Hyatt planners for a few years. Deep down in my bookshelf there is the 10 or 12 or 15 more of every quarterly one that I've used and filled them up and moved on to the next one. And a daily planner that I use on my desk is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I like Michael's work. I've listened to him a few times on the podcast. Yeah. Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 19 and a half years ago?
Yeah, look, I reckon the advice I give myself is firstly, be kind. Be kind. Building relationships by being kind is critical. So be kind. And I'd remind myself to live a rule that I've come across, the 5x5 rule. And that is it. If it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes being upset about it. So let me say that again. The 5x5 rule. If it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes being upset about it. I've worried myself for weeks and months about stuff that really didn't matter in the long term, I reckon, Troy.
Yeah, I love one of my favorite Mark Twain quotes is that I've had many troubles in my life, some of which actually happened.
Yeah, the made up troubles are the worst ones, I think.
That's it. And my second favorite Mark Twain quote, it's only apt at the moment because my dog is snoring on the couch behind me, is the more I get to know people, the more I like my dog.
Yeah, the simplicity of relationships, Troy, that's it. Thanks for your time, Troy. It's been great to have a chat.
Thanks, Tristan. Really appreciate your time. Congratulations on massive growth in deciding to downsize, getting a listed business partner on, and moving on from that, and all the awards around the best place to work in Australia. #1 mantle, one of those years, phenomenal. And I love your approach to both people and culture, and really appreciate your time.
No worries, Troy. Great to have a chat.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.